By the early 90s, Depeche Mode were proper famous. They'd achieved what so many people in bands imagine they want, and were shocked to discover that fame was something of a poisoned chalice, if only someone had mentioned that before. From humble beginnings in working-class London, the lads à la mode had fought their way to a place where there were few financial or practical restraints on their behaviour. By 1987, songwriter Martin Gore was already penning lines like, "I give in to sin because you have to make life livable." To be fair, he spoke for a lot of us there, but for them the difference in degree was startling. They could do whatever they wanted, wherever they wanted, however and whenever they wanted, to whoever they wanted, and as wantonly as they were inclined. This ultimate test of character tends to do a number on a person, and it certainly did on them. Anyone can profess values when they'll never be required to prove them. Things like, "If I was rich, I'd share my wealth with the poor," or "If hot women threw themselves at me, I wouldn't cheat," or "If the world kept telling me I was God Almighty, I'd stay humble." It's no achievement to be good when you lack the opportunity to be bad. But by the time of 1989's Violator album, Depeche Mode were in a world of opportunity, and each member was now on the lonely journey of finding out who they really were, one transgression at a time. Drugs, booze, affairs, divorces, overdoses. When it came to excess, they played the hits, and no doubt added a few deep cuts too. Mute Records boss Daniel Miller said, "The bigger the tours get, the easier it is to party. It's a bubble in which anything can happen as long as you perform on stage. I went out on the tour and I thought it was horrible. I remember being introduced to the official drug dealer and I thought, fuck this, there's nothing I can do." The band's next album, Songs of Faith and Devotion, would see Martin Gore submitting his findings from this rarely seen anteroom of human behaviour. The recording was not easy. By the time the band met in Madrid in 1992, they'd been apart for 18 months. All sense of band unity was gone. Singer Dave Gahan had moved to LA, where he transformed into a glistening, long-haired, tattooed rocker who none of the other members recognised. For his part, he arrived full of enthusiasm, only to find everyone quietly staring at him like he was a crazy person. They spent weeks getting little done, unable to agree on anything. One thing in their favour was that everyone agreed Gore's demos contained some of his best work yet. One favourite was called Walking in My Shoes, a song that starkly laid out the cursed effect their charmed lives were having on them. As a lyric, it was in perfect balance, like a plea of guilt wrapped in a motion to dismiss. Gore knows he's a weak human, but is acted upon by forces greater than his will. He describes countless feasts laid at my feet, forbidden fruit for me to eat. He behaves badly for fun, but the world constantly offers him fun ways to be bad while protecting him from the consequences. But the world won't protect him from his own guilt, just as he won't protect his confession from excuses. In lines like "Morality would frown upon, decency look down upon, the scapegoat fate's made of me," he's just humanity's luckless representative, press-ganged into all this as an example to the rest of us. He sees himself equally undeserving of forgiveness and blame as he challenges us, "Try walking in my shoes." The demo of the song was skeletal, but the basics, chords, words and melody were in place, as well as a sketch of the climactic synth line. But time and again, the band failed to do the song justice. Keyboardist Alan Wilder remembers, "We were getting nowhere, we tried different ways, and none of it sounded any good." Gahan remembers producer Flood in tears because he was at such a loss. After 3 or 4 failed attempts, Flood finally suggested, "What if the band tried playing together?" Wilder remembered this idea being met with derision. What are you talking about? Play together? Depeche Mode always made music with machines. Wilder said, "When we just go in and play, we end up sounding like a pub rock band." But things were desperate, and the producer insisted. Wilder remembered, Martin had a guitar, I had a bass, someone else had a tambourine, we had a little rhythm box going, and we just made this noise. We got the main groove for the song, the bass line, and guitar lines. He went on to say this was the first and possibly only time the band ever jammed together. We were never that kind of group. Previously, all Depeche Mode's music was rigidly programmed. Now there would be real guitars and live drum loops. They could have all the dynamics of a human performance while retaining the power and precision of machines. The final version is a masterpiece. Each descending chord change in the chorus sounds like a step down the moral ladder. The low piano notes ring out like guilt pangs. The arrangement gets more layered and chaotic as it goes on. Orchestral slashes evoke rising pressure and desperation. Then there's that haunting synth line in the instrumental which, by the time it returns under the final chorus, sounds as full of judgment as it is of compassion, like it's being played by God himself. And dotted throughout all of this, a sprinkling of cheesy, dated record scratches. Just to remind you that these guys are only human after all. Meanwhile, the lyrics pull a sly con trick. The fact we all profess values we can't prove works in Gore's favour. Try walking in my shoes, he challenges, knowing most of us never will. He assures us we'd stumble in his footsteps and, in one of the most genius bits of literary understatement, keep the same appointments I kept. He doesn't say what those appointments were, but we can sure as hell guess, and leaving the details unsaid might let him off the hook, but it also elevates the song. Instead of a list of grubby misdeeds, we get a song about temptation itself. Rather than a song about some rich rock star, it's about all of us. Forbidden fruits aren't confined to arena backstages, or necessarily deviant in nature. They might just be banal things like sugar or laziness. Some sins are bigger than others, but guilt is universal. This is like a song of mourning for the better self you keep falling short of, and of consolation that falling short is only human. No one can walk in anyone else's shoes. Everyone's tragedy is unknowable by others. But we can all indulge the comforting fantasy that anyone in our position would have done the same as us, safe in the knowledge that it can never be put to the test. Thanks for watching this episode of Superfluent. If you thought this video was among the greatest of human achievements, feel free to subscribe and or support the channel on Patreon. I say feel free, although it is actually a legal requirement of wherever it is you live. Sorry about that. Thanks again. See you next time. Actually, while I've got you, check out these chord changes, right? How good's that? Really cool thing there that he's doing. Most of those chords belong in the same key. You've got... right? But the one ringer is that C sharp major. So he's like spent the whole song setting you up to expect chords in this group. So when he goes like... but before you come to any conclusions, try walking in my shoes. He's like bending your ears, throwing in that C sharp major there. And then the chorus is great as well. The chorus has got a surprising C sharp, but now this time it's like a sort of distorted minor basically. So again, the song has set you up to expect something like a C major there, you know. If he did it the orthodox way, it could have gone, you'd stumble in my footsteps, keep the same appointments I kept. But it's way cooler the way he does it. You'd stumble in my footsteps, keep the same appointments I kept. It just makes you go, oh, fucking hell, you know. He's a talented bloke.